Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 1001 Nights of Lessons. I'm your host, Dildar. 1001 Nights of Lessons is a storytelling and self-development podcast, much like the OG Arabian Nights. We're here to unpack the stories of our lives that shaped us into who we are and to reflect lessons learned along the way. Hello, everyone. Welcome to night 32. And tonight, we're going to talk about how to improve our relationships with our parents in adulthood. One relationship that we tend to ignore in our 20s, 30s because we're far away from home for whatever reason, trying to build our own lives. I found that at some point in our lives, we will realize who's most important to us, and we go back to where it all began, our parents who have given birth to us. And oftentimes that is the one relationship that's the hardest to nourish and allow it to flourish. Ooh. Poem. But yes, if you have this perfect relationship with your parents, maybe this episode is not for you. But I do believe that 99.9% of us all have our own issues with our parents and our childhoods. No matter how perfectly you were raised, you have some trauma that's given to you, gifted by your parents. That's just human experience. And as you all know, I am an Uyghur girl from western part of China in Central Asia. Uyghur parents are normally very, very traditional. And so are my parents. They are influenced by that bigger cultural atmosphere. I grew up in a military style, strict household. And he was subscribed to the old school parenting, Asian dad's parenting methodology. From the synopsis, you can probably tell that I had a horrible relationship with my parents in my childhood. And then in my adulthood, I turned it all around. So I decided for myself that I want a relationship with my parents, rebuilding that relationship from scratch and reintroducing myself to them. And I did exactly that. That's the best thing I've ever done for myself in my late 20s. I just feel overall more fulfilled, loved. That's not the only thing we're delving into. Because of the topic of today's episode, and it's related to my parents, and I happen to have my dad visiting me right now, I managed to interview him one day when we were on a hike. It's such a special conversation, and I'm so glad that I get to keep this as part of a memory of my dad forever. So second part of today's episode is going to be an interview with my dad. What's even more special is that I interviewed my dad in my mother language, Uyghur language. If you're listening to this podcast, you can for the first part. And when it comes to the interview with my dad, I urge you to pause and watch it. I will include subtitles so you can understand what I'm saying, what he's saying, and be fully immersed in this conversation. I got to know so many things I didn't know about him through this interview. For me, one thing that's always there is love. It's just a pure form of love I have for him and vice versa. We're all humans. We're not perfect. They were parents for the first time as well. Of course, there are things that could have been better. One thing that's consistent is love. And I felt that interviewing him. And we even got really emotional when he talked about my grandma, his mom, who recently passed away, and I found out things that I didn't know. So it's a very, very precious, raw, as human as it gets interview. And I really hope you enjoy listening to this Uyghur father-daughter conversation. The reason I'm able to be vulnerable in all aspects in this episode to talk about how I improved my relationship with my Uyghur parents, very traditional parents, in my adulthood as a modern Uyghur girl, I would say, is that I know I'm not alone. And I know there are people like me who maybe even till this day don't have a close relationship with their parents because they simply cannot communicate. And I hope this gives you the courage to have that hard conversation, to have the courage to be yourself 100% authentically with the risk of them judging you, because at the end of the day, you can say you tried. And for my case, I did exactly that. I showed up as my authentic self to stop lying to them, stop hiding myself, show them all parts of me, even the parts that I know that they would not accept, with the risk of them disowning me, basically. Luckily for me, they didn't disown me. My relationship with them today compared to just 3 years ago is night and day. I mean, we had a relationship 3 years ago too, but it is the kind of relationship that has no substance, no fulfilling factor for me. It's like there's a wall between us. I've left home since 18 and we live 4,000 miles away at least. I'm not really very good at geography. 3 years ago, we used to talk once every 2 months. And that one time is just a 1-minute phone call just to prove that I'm still alive. But 3 years later now, we talk every single day. Now my dad visited me 2 times, stayed with me, seen my life with no hiding, no alteration, just me as me, and be okay with it. Dare I say, even be proud. Not that I need his validation or anything. So yeah, I'm really proud of how far our relationships have come and evolved. How did I do it? How did I manage to improve this impossible relationship with my parents with all of our differences? So let me tell you a few stories in the true 1001 Nights of Lessons fashion. A little dash of story, a little dash of lessons learned. In my late 20s, I learned that the amount of time we have with our parents are finite. The second you decided to be independent young adult and left home, you're gonna see your parents countable amount of times. The further you go to build your life away from your parents, the less amount of times you will have to see them. And that is the morbid truth. And especially for my case, 4,000 miles away and so many other factors, it's incredibly hard to see them. So you should cherish every moment you have with them. If there is love and if you have a relationship with them, that is. And here comes the story part. I want to talk about a little background story of mine and why I decided to leave home at age 18. The surface level PR answer is that I'm going for college and I want to see the world, explore the world. That is true. That is, I think, 50% of it. When I was young, my city was surrounded by mountains. I think I talked about this before. All I wanted was to see what's outside of those snow-capped mountains. That was 50% of it. That is still true. But the other 50% was that I wanted to escape my childhood. I wanted to escape my parents because they were extremely, extremely strict. Our communication style with each other when it was challenging moments are not good at all. A lot of screaming, a lot of physical violence, part of my dad's parenting style. So I wanted to leave. Back home, this is the case for a lot of the family. That's just kind of the norm back home, sadly, in that time. Let me define the strictness so you have a little context clue. Otherwise, your imagination will go wild. And sometimes I could be a little dramatic, And I'm like strict military parenting, but it's nothing that crazy. This is funny. I'll let you be the judge because sometimes when you live through something, you're like, it's not that crazy. But as you're telling the story, everybody's like, what the actual So yeah, I had no phone until I was 18 because they have extremely high expectation. They want me to succeed in school. Asian parents, hello, tiger parents. And yes, they were. They would not allow me to watch TV, movies. They would hide the cable for the TV so I couldn't watch it. But I was smarter. I would figure out my way to scavenger hunt and find out exactly where they hid the TV cable. And they were creative, okay? One time my dad wrapped the TV cable around a vase that's the same color as the cable to camouflage it. I had to give it to him, okay? But the other times I found them easily. Like there's one time they hid the remote. Without the remote, you couldn't really do anything with the TV. Without the cable, there's no internet. You couldn't do anything in the TV back then. They hid the remote inside the washer. I found it, okay? Me trying to find all the remotes and cables, I found out so many other things that I'm not supposed to find. When you're deprived of something so much, to a point like I just want to live alone, do whatever I want and just exist without any restriction. And that's all I wanted. And once I was able to do that, I let my freedom control me. I went the other side of the extreme with absolutely no regulation to a point that it's kind of depressive. So I had to reel it back and reintroduce order and routine in my adulthood and actually be an adult. So that's what strict parenting does to you. No matter how much I wanted to run away, in the end, I realized I need to go back to my family. However way I can. Ever since I left home, there's just been a bit of a distance. I started to explore life on my own. Gradually, my parents no longer know the person that I actually am becoming. It is on me also that I didn't feel comfortable sharing just based on what I know about who they are. I know I was living life my way and doing a lot of the things that I know they would not want me to do. So every time when we were on the call, I just don't know what to talk about with them anymore. That propelled me to want to talk to them less and less, almost putting up a facade, and I don't really see any point of that. They would continue to reinforce their beliefs and ideologies on certain things that is no longer who I am. More specifically, these things are often whether I have a boyfriend or not. How they have raised me is we never speak of sex in the household. It's a taboo topic, a taboo thing to do. And oh, God forbid if I ever do that. I was not allowed to have any boyfriend growing up. I was 20 and I think that's when I had my first boyfriend. And I couldn't even tell them. So they never knew any of my boyfriends in my early 20s. They still think of me as this pure little girl who never dated anybody. A lot of my life, I couldn't even share with them. If I'm going on a trip with this boyfriend, I couldn't tell them because obviously we would be staying at some place together or whatever. Finally, it reached a point that I have to be honest because I do want a closer relationship with them. And I realize the only way to do that is to be honest, is to have the hard communication no matter the outcome and be okay with just the uncomfortable period of time and whatever result came out of that conversation. Because things like that could be so serious. Some parents could not handle it. So I knew that could be a possibility, but I still have believing them to see me as who I am and still love me and accept me as a daughter. So that's why I decided to tell them the truth. It all comes from a place of wanting to be closer to them. At that time, I was trying to get my dad to come visit me. He was about to come and live with me. I feel like that conversation is very necessary because at the time I had a boyfriend and we lived together. That is a potential heart attack risk right there for either one of my parents. How I told him was diabolical. I don't recommend this method. So I went a little too extreme with the truth bomb. He kept pestering me and trying to coach me of what he thinks a girl should do or not do on these sort of things. It was driving me insane at that point because I'm so past that and it's just pointless, What I did to break the news to him, clearly black and white, no fuss about it. I took him to Vegas. Okay, we went on a trip and there is a restaurant in Vegas called Dining in the Dark. When you eat in this restaurant, you can't see anything. You can't see the facial expression of your day. You couldn't even see your 5 fingers in front of your face. You have to touch the food to feel it. And it's really good. I recommend, by the way. And while we're eating, my dad started coaching me again with his whole spiel. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I have fed up. Do you really not understand what's happening right now? That's when I told him the truth of everything, of who I am, all layers of me, all the misconceptions they have about me in the darkness. To him. And I was just going on a monologue. I was like, Dad, let's be so for real. I'm 26. I had boyfriends. I'm living with my boyfriends. What do you think happened? Da, 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 da. And my boyfriend is a foreigner. I honestly don't know how he reacted because I couldn't see him. It was perfect for me. It's less stressful. I don't know what's happening. And at some point I stopped talking. I'm like, Dad, Dada, are you okay? So he didn't say a single word the rest of the dinner. I assume he was processing everything. Poor dad. I feel for him. And when we got out of that restaurant, he collected himself together. It was like that conversation never even happened. Swept under the rug. But one change is that he never mentioned anything about how a girl should act or not act, lifestyle choices, anything like that. So I am freed from the torment. Finally, he get to see me for who I am. Then we just kept building our relationships on top of that. That's a crucial, pivotal moment for me that I believe changed my relationship. Then I had to do the same conversation with my mom over the phone. My mom was a little bit more dramatic than my dad, okay? There was a period of adjustment, if you will, but eventually very, very quickly, quicker than what I expected. Both of them have accepted a new version of me. Still loved me the way that they used to love me. And ever since, we are almost like friends. Me and my mom talk every day. Me and my dad were glued to the hips whenever he visits the US, and he likes to explore all of my hobbies together. I know I've said a lot of like heavy topics and vulnerable things on here, but I want to preface now by saying that I overall had an amazing childhood with my brother, my parents, live a big life together, laughing all the time, joking, and I'm just really blessed overall. And there's those moments of conflict that I wish I didn't live through, that I have forgiven my dad for. A decade or more years have passed. He's a different person now, and I can see that he has changed. In my adulthood and interactions with him, his temper is much more mellow. I think he sees through life in a better way, and hopefully he did his reflection. Out of nowhere, one day, privately, he apologized. He didn't say what he apologized for. I don't need his apology either because I have decided to forgive him long before that. I'm defending him now, but I don't have to. That is his journey. Everyone lived this life for the first time, so. The positive, beautiful memory, the reason I became the person I am today, I owe everything to them, my mom and dad. My mom is an incredibly kind woman, hardworking. My dad, he poured his blood and tears and sweat. He cared so much in the way that he know how. That's the first solo part of the episode. Just want to talk a little about how I improved my relationship with my parents. I hope this is helpful in any way. And now it's time for the interview. My dad. Even more special, it's in Uyghur language. So reminder to read the subtitle once again. And I think this midway point is a really good point for me to remind you to follow the podcast, give it a 5-star review if you haven't done so already, to help me grow and motivate me to continue doing the work for you guys. Welcome to 1001 Nights of Lessons. Dada.
Yes. Kichkinizdan siz boshqa odamlarni ziyorat qilib, so'ziltib, shunda o'rgatganman. Faqat tatınma aytdingiz.
Siz mu 60 yaş kirib qaldınız? Ben mi 30 yaş kirib qalay dedim.
Ya men 60 yaş kirmedim.
Neç yaş kirdiniz?
Yürkem yaş mening 20 yaş kirdim.
Ben 30 yaş kirgen yerda siz 20 yaş kirdiniz.
Yaşını unutmayalım. Bizning o'zimizni yaştayotganda siz 30 yaş kirdim deyman. 30 yaş kirmediniz, 28, 29 mağdınız mına.
29 10 yıl turay. Anlavatqan dostlarım mening Uyg'urchimning bek yaxshi emasligini his qilib bo'ldingiz.
Ana tilni unutib qolsangiz bo'lmaydi.
Ya, hozir rost gap qilsam, inglizchani birinchi yaxshi so'zlayman, Uyg'urchani ikkinchi yaxshi so'zlayman, Xanzuchani uchinchi yaxshi so'zlayman, Ispaniyachani to'rtinchi yaxshi so'zlayman. Siz qanday tillarni so'zlay olasiz o'zingiz?
Mening o'zim Xanzucha o'qigan. Shundan keyin qozoqchani o'zim o'rganib olgan. Biz Qozoq rayonida cho'ng bo'ldik. Qozoqchani bilibdik hamda bilganda unda sistemli uqmaydik-da. Uyg'urcha so'zlaydik, maktabda Xanzucha so'zlaydik, uyga kelganda Uyg'ur so'zlaydik.
Shu anglayotgan qarindoshlar sizning qanday odamligingizni to'liq bir tushunsin deb kichik vaqtingizdan boshlaylik deb o'yladim. Qanday o'ylaysiz?
Kichik vaqtimizda ota-onamiz bizni tug'ib cho'ng qildi. Vaqtida bizning turmushlarimiz ancha yaxshi emas. Hamma odamning turmushi shunda. U vaqtida kino degan bir mo'chani ko'rdik arzon. Shunda bo'lsa-mu kinoxonalarda ko'rdik. Biroq hozirgi zamondek bunda yaxshi zamon emasda. 21-asrdek AI, ChatGPT, mushundaq hamma dunyo o'xshash texnik degan bak tez ilgirlaydi. Sizlar bir baxtli bir zamonda tug'ilibsizlar.
Yetisha olamsiz mushtaq o'zgarishlarga?
Albatta yetishishga tirishimizda, davrning ilgirilishi bilan tang ilgirlaymizda.
Siz bal vaqtingizda qanday odamdingiz?
Ota-onamiz bizga bir qattiq talab qo'ydi. Hatto kichik tomoq yegandimi ovozimizni chiqarsak, mening opam bizga talabni bak ortiq qo'ydi. Dadam ancha so'zilmaydigan odam. Ba'zi vaqtda xato qilib qo'ysak, akiltib urib qo'ydi. Shunda yaxshi ko'ramiz. Dadamiz bizni umaydi. Shuning uchun biz opamizga yaqindik. Opamiz nima bo'lsa, ko'nglimizni desak, opamizga deydik. Dadamizdan tap-tatib sal. Rahmatlik opamga tuga ketdi. 3-4 yil bo'ldi. 80-necha kirib. Shularning ta'siri bor bizda. O'sha ota-onamiz bizga qo'ygan talabni bizmi bolalarimiz shunday qattiq talab qo'ymiz.
Cho'ng opam sizni boqqan suli, siz ufqan bilan meni boqqan sulga o'pmo'xshash chiqib qopdi mana.
Opam bizni hozir o'ylasam tarbiyasi, urf-odatimiz, har qaysi jihatlarda o'yladi. Opamning hamda dish tilim qısıq kelyapti. Apamning tarbiyasida, bal tarbiyalashda ras usuli shunday yaxshi. Hamda uğan degan urushga kirmaydi. Yuragi bilan umaydi bola deganni. Kim bolasini chidab yuragi bilan urdi.
3 yil burun cho'ng opam tugab ketdi dedingiz. Sizga qanday ta'sir bo'ldi?
Opam tugagan vaqtda shu vaqtda menga shunday ig'ir keldi. Musibat ichida bo'lib qoldim. 1 yilga chetdi. O'ylab keyin asta-asta qabul qildim bu amaliyotga. Qabul qilgandan keyin turmushimga asta-asta qilpiga tushdi normal bo'ldi. Shundan keyin sizni ko'rib keldim.
Men sizning opangiz bo'ldim yana boshqadan. Boshqarib turib, yangidan inglizlarni o'rgatib matardim.
Shuning uchun adam cho'ng bo'lganda bir kichik bola emasmi? Shu sizni ko'rib shunday xo'shalish vaqti. Sizni ko'rib yaxshi bo'lib qoldim. Bizni beqib, qayqib, cho'ng qilgan, tarbiyalagan, mushkunga yetkazgan atanimiz bo'lmasa biz yo'q. Apamni ism keltirib qo'ydingiz. Har doim apamizning seg'inag'li.
Kim bildi hozir bizning paranglashgan gapimizni anglab, mishada o'tirib
O dunyoga ketdi. Hammamizning beshig'i bor. Bir kunlar bizning beshig'imizga shunday keldi. Shunga o'xshash. Bir qatim u vaqtlarda 70-yillar o'tanga boramiz, chanilar bilan, otchanilar bilan. Taqqa chiqib, qarg'ay akilimiz o'tanni ketgandan keyin men kelmabman-da kechdi. Shu kuni havo tog'liq rayon bo'lgandan keyin shamol chiqib, qoyoqdi, qoyoqdan keyin shamol chiqib, belki chanining bunday yo'lini biraqlam qa tuzib etdi. Biz adashib qoldik. Bu ot bo'ladi ekanda yo'lni. Otning yuziga qo'yib berib bir yo'l bilan mangsa o'tanba chanada. Basqan. O Abdurrahim ya bu xata mangdi deb bizning shunaqa bir ko'l bor, Ko'kto'qay ko'li. Shu ko'l tarafga aketdi. Uyimiz ma tarafda qoldi-da. Opamning deyishicha, opam o'tamabdi uyda. Ko'l 0 dan tuvan 50 gradus, 45 gradus sovuq bo'ldi Ko'kto'qayda. Bizning kiyganlarimiz qalin ter chapan, ter ishton ot bilan shunda chiqib ketimiz. Atdigan chiqib ketimiz, kechdi kelamiz. Soat 2 gacha kelmagandan keyin opam uxlamay o'tiribdi dadamni. Hey, mushlar ko'lga keldi. Siz chiqing, chiroqni elib, chiqing tez bo'la, yo'l adishib qoldi hozir qoyoqdi debchi. Biz bunda qarsoq jiroq yana bir chiroq yangan. Gaz chiroq shamoldimi o'chmaydi. Biz to'xtab turdik.
Qa bisib ketgandan keyin burun tunalaydigan yanni tunanmay ezib qoldinglar.
Ezib qoldik.
Chiroqni ko'rib, oxiri qanday qildinglar?
20 minutda turdik. Tuzoq chiroq yaqinlab keldi. Shunga yaqin kelgandan keyin dadam kelib, bu yerni nima ish qilsalar deb channi yishib bitib, otni yitilab, shunga bizni aketdi. 7-8 kilometr ariqlikda. O'shan topolmay aylanib жүрген par.
Ya lekin xatarlikda
u sovuqda tayilgandan keyin birdamdilam qitqaslab ulab qoldi. Chunki kunma echildi, uyga beribdim. Opam shu yerda o'tiribdi rahmatli. Opam agarda shu vaqtida opam bo'lmasa, Abdurrahim akam ikkimiz uylatdik, to'nglab o'ldik.
Unda siz dadangizmi sizni qutqizibdi tangishkilisi.
Dadam bilan opam ikkisi meni bir qutqizib olgan. Shu esimdan ketmaydigan bir ish shu.
Hozir sizni men ansirmayman. Nerede bo'lsangiz telefonimiz ulavliq bo'lgandan keyin naq o'rningizni hozir yutib ketsangiz topalayman. Kichik vaqtingiz siz kapsiz bo'lmidingiz, yaxshi bo'lmidingiz?
Kapsizdim.
Qandaqsiga?
Ba'zi vaqtlarda bizning uylarda kala bo'lgan. Kalda saqa vaqtda sutni qo'yib qo'ydi. U sutninki ustida qaymoq bo'ldi-da. Men qaymoqni qo'shiqni akiribman, bir chiniga qaymoqni elib sutni ichmaydim.
Men bu qaymoqni bek yaxshi ko'raman.
Sutni yaxshi ko'rmaydim. Qaymoqni bir chiniga elib-elibman, yeb-elibman ketib qoldi. Apam kelib Oy bu qaymoqni kim yeb ketdi deydi. Oy mushuk yeb ketgandi desam, ha bizning uyda bir cho'ng mushuk bor-da, qadam kulib chaqchaq. Har doim qaymoq yo'q bo'lsa, cho'ng mushuk yebdi-da. Kichik vaqtimiz degan bir baxtli bir zaman. Sada,
oson vaqtlarda.
Kichik vaqtimizda bizda telefonmi yo'q. Bizning o'ynaydigan o'yinchiqlarimiz qatayinto. Qish bo'lsa muzda chanq o'ynaydik. Tag'dan o'tana kildik. Gagar degan narsa bor, uni o'ynaydik.
Gagar degan nima?
Bundaq. Yaga qo'yib urib o'ynaydigan. Yemeklerimiz shu non, go'sht, sut, sey.
Bu daqiqadan kelibmi o'zingizga non kelyapsiz, kunlat degan sut choy, sut ichsiz, shuningdan keyin uni boshqa azroq go'sht yeysiz, o'xshash tomoqni mishadib yeyapsiz.
Uyg'ur degan non yemisi bo'lmaydi. Nima uchun deganda Qazoqlarda bir so'z bor. O'lgan sartning qo'ynidan non chiqadi deydi.
To'qash chiqadi
degan so'z. Bir yerda ulab qolgan bir Uyg'ur bo'lsa, qo'ynini aqtasang bir non chiqadi deydi.
Qiziq gap.
O'lgan sart deydi. Sart degani hamda sodiga degan gap ham, tilgan gap emas. Uyg'ur.
Eng oxirgi necha savol qoldi. Vaqtingiz berganingizga shunday rahmat.
Voy rahmat deyish ketmaydi. Nima vaqt bu paranglashyotim.
Hozirgacha deb bermagan bir ishingiz bormi menga? Men uqmaydigan bir ish bormi? Shu sirni bir deb bergan.
Uqmaydigan, mening yaxshi ko'radigan ba'zan jihatlardan uqmaysiz. Men mushundaq tabiatni yaxshi ko'raman.
Uni men huquman.
Uy silishlarni yaxshi ko'raman.
Uni men huquman.
Baq qilishlarni yaxshi ko'raman.
Uni men huquman.
Etizlikda ishlashlarni yaxshi ko'raman. Men harakatni yaxshi ko'raman. Mushuni siz uqamsiz, uqmamsiz? Ha, uqsangiz, unda bo'lsa sizning uqmaydigan ishingiz yo'q ekan. Onun için tamak etishini yaxshi ko'raman. Tamak etishini xuddi bir maqola yozishda ko'raman men. Tamakni ko'ngil qo'yib etgan tamak tatli bo'ldi. O'qis odamni o'qig'isi keldi maqom. Ko'ngil qo'ymay, qo'lning uchida yozgan, qo'l ishlatmay yozgan maqola, u maqolani o'qisa odamni o'qig'isi kelmaydi. Nima uchun? Odamni bundaq tatanmaydi. Shuning uchun tamakmi shunga o'xshash. Uning keyin so'zlashni yaxshi ko'raman. Buni biz uqdik. Uning keyin chaqchaqni yaxshi ko'raman.
Hayron qoldim shu polo, to'xo, biliqdan boshqa tamoqingizni yeb baxmagandan keyin. Tamoq yaxshi ko'rasiz.
Siz kelgandan beri nima tamoqlarni yetib berdim sizda peqan?
Qo'rda, to'xo, polo, suyqash,
biliq.
Yes.
Yani nima tamoq yeyingiz bor undan boshqa?
Undaq desangiz men minnatdorlikni uqmay qopdiman.
Yo'q, unda emas. Sizga qanday tamoq kerak ekan deyman, men tirishay.
Uningdan bak baxtlilik, rahmat sizga dedi. Masalan, menga birlam fikr berman desangiz, nima fikr berasiz?
Siz har qaysi jihatlarda yaxshi. Mening sizga birlam qo'yadigan fikrmi deyish ketmaydi, ham talabim. Sizmi yeshingiz bir yerga bordi, hamda oila qurdigan yerga keldingiz. Sizmi o'zingizninki yaxshi ko'radigan bir oila qursanglar, to'yanglarni qilsaq deb o'ylaymiz. Hozir siz to'y qilish yeshingizga yetdi. Hamda cho'ng emas. Sizning cho'ng deyishga bo'lmaydi.
Hech kim cho'ng demdi, o'zingiz cho'ngda.
Baxt bo'lsa bu ishlar bo'lib qoldi.
Ya, bo'lib qolsa bo'ldi, bo'lib qolmasa qanday qilmamdi? Shu o'zimga bisim qo'yg'im yo'q.
Ha, bisim qo'yaman.
Oxirida siz boshqa qatadigan gaplar bormi menga deydigan?
Yo'q. Sizga deydigan shu yaxshi odam bo'ling.
Rahmat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming, Dad.
Welcome.
Yes. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed the conversation I had with my dad on a hike spontaneously. It was such a beautiful moment. I'm so glad I have this clip forever to cherish, and I strongly recommend, if you still have your parents near you, ask them questions, get to know them, talk to them. As long as you want to, there is a way to get closer, to improve your relationship with your parents in your adulthood. And after all, we have to realize who's the most important people in our life. And there are not many of them. So the ones we have, let's treat them right. With that, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.